Hi, this is Esther with Discover Your Origins. In part of my search for Darthula Ross and my assumption that she is Darthula Langford, I needed to research the William B. Langford family a little bit more. The William B. Langford family migrated from Newberry County, South Carolina to Lauderdale County about 1835. And the family settled in Gravelly Springs. Today, Gravelly Springs is a sparsely populated area northwest of Florence, just north of the Tennessee River. And I have it highlighted here with the red flag on a Google map so you can see where it is. And Gravelly Springs was an enumerated district for the U.S. Census, and there were many families that lived in the area. It is hard to place William B. Langford's property exactly, but I do have a plat map that shows here highlighted in red where the Langford family property was. The Langford family seemed to be doing well in 1850 and 1860. They had brought some money with them when they sold their property in South Carolina, and then they declared their property value as $900 in 1850 and $1,100 in 1860. So that's a fair amount of money for that time, and they seem to be doing pretty well. Unfortunately, the Civil War really greatly impacted the family and changed their fortunes. William Langford died during the Civil War, and their oldest son Joseph likely died either during the war or as a result of the war. And Drusilla is listed as the head of household in the 1866 Alabama State Census. And by 1870, she doesn't declare that the property is worth anything at that point. Drusilla and her adult daughters are there living on their own, trying to survive. And I think probably the land had been destroyed and was no longer really fit for farming of any kind. Gravelly Springs itself plays a pretty central role in the Civil War. Military action in Lauderdale County began after the Battle of Shiloh in 1862 with raids by the Union Army. And they would come down the Tennessee River and raid into the county and then go back up the river. And they estimate that about 750 families that lived there were pretty much left destitute. Florence itself changed hands several times between the North and the South, but by 1863, Florence, which is the county seat of Lauderdale County, was occupied by the Union Army. The Union Army pretty well destroyed most of the infrastructure and industry in the county, and so it was pretty well destroyed. And it was so destroyed that the area didn't recover until 1933 when the Tennessee Valley Authority came in. And this was, of course, the Great Depression, and so you can imagine things weren't great before, and they were probably only just a little bit better once that started happening with the Tennessee Valley Authority. And there was a fair amount of controversy with that later, that we can talk about later. But by 1865, the Union Army, they're about ready to win the war, but they wanted to really secure it by breaking the industrial capacity of the Confederacy, which was based in Alabama. And Ulysses S. Grant appointed General James Wilson to lead a battle or raid into Selma, Alabama to destroy industry. And this military action became known as Wilson's Raid. And I have a picture here of General Wilson. So he began preparations for this battle by gathering men and supplies in January of 1865 in Gravelly Springs, Alabama. And he assembled about 22,000 men and set up camp between Waterloo and Gravelly Springs. And this is one of the largest military encampments in American history. Wilson was not known for destroying plantations and looting, but the encampment itself would have destroyed the land. I mean, you can imagine 22,000 men in tents, and they cut down trees, and it just really would have destroyed that land. And they were stationed there until April of 1865 when the men began to move out. So pretty pivotal point in history for the Civil War, because it was after this war that the battle was the overall war was pretty much over. There is a fair amount of further research that can be done on the William Langford family and property. There should be some land records, maybe a will or probate in the county court records. Something has to have happened to that property. The Lauderdale County court records have limited accessibility, and so I have to plan a special trip to Salt Lake City to view them. But Drusilla and her daughters would have had to find a way to survive. So I'm curious to see if there are any records that kind of talk about the property further. So anyway, if you're interested in more about the details about Gravelly Springs, I recommend reading this article on my blog, Discover Your Origins. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.